Hello again, and today we're going to continue with our series on the psychology of trading. And one of the rules that I send daily to my subscribers, and it's rule number 4, or I actually call it trading wisdom that I send to my subscribers basically every day. So here's a trading wisdom, and this is actual letter to my subscribers. Taking losses is part of trading experience. Your losses should not hurt. If losses hurt your psyche, that means you are trading too big for your experience level. Reduce your position size until losses no longer hurt. Okay, so what does it practically mean? And this week, actually, I think I had an absolutely perfect example, and I'd like to share it with you. So here is what happened. This stock, PTC Therapeutics, now once again I do no fundamental analysis whatsoever, and I do get criticized for this, but I don't think at this point of the game I really need this. Basically, I can see on the chart what I need to see already. I need to see what's happening with the price and where is it going. So here is PTC Therapeutics. We can go back to daily time frame so that it's a little bit more clear and you guys understand what I'm referring to here. So PTCT. So here is what I wanted to show. First of all, the PTC was, and as of recording of this particular video, is a bullish chart. So here, these are, I believe, all-time highs, if I'm not mistaken. Let me take a look. No, they're 52-week highs. So that's good enough for me. So the important thing is that this is a bullish chart, and this is a strong bullish pattern. So we're hitting fresh highs, we're pulling back, hitting fresh highs, pulling back. So here's where I became interested in buying it. In late to mid-September of 2017, I'm looking at this chart and I like it. I don't know why I like it, but I like it. Specifically, why I like it is when I go to TradingView, version of this chart. What I really like is this breakout here in June of 2017. In June here on the 5th and the 6th, this breakout occurred here. And these are fresh highs and we continued higher. Now, you can see that on this chart there are several colored lines. And these colored lines are part of the custom indicator that I created. And current subscribers from MasterChartsTrading.com, they can get this one for free for the elite service. So here I'm actually using my own indicator, and I wanted to show you the process of my thinking for this trade and how it applies to what I'm trying to hammer in today, and that is that losses should not hurt you as a being, so to speak. And additionally, once you're starting to worry about your losses, this will affect your relationships, your everyday life. So you definitely don't want that to be transferred into your daily life. So I wanted to show how I dealt with this quite stressful, in my opinion, experience of trading this particular stock. So here we go. I entered at limit or rather, let me rephrase it. I put in an order here, and this is a 5-minute chart of PTCT as of September 29, and this is a 5 days worth of activity. So we got from September 25th until September 29th. So here on September 25th, I went ahead and I put in a limit buy order, and I use Robinhood for my brokerage. So I put in a limit order and I went to sleep. Here on 26th of September, we had an opening gap down. So in other words, even though I put in an order to fill at 18.99, it gapped down on me and I actually got filled at 17.05. So actually that was in my favor, and it's a good thing so far. But then notice what happened afterwards. Within the next literally half an hour, it collapsed. So it collapsed a pretty large amount, because I got filled at 17.05 here, right there, and then it collapsed 14, almost 15, over 15% on me. And of course, here I'm very concerned about this, as you can imagine. But I'm like, okay, so I calculated my position, and how do I do, calculation of my position? I simply plug it in. So I want to buy here, and you can actually just click this on TradingView.com. You can just click this and put in your position, and you can get the position size. So here I'm pretty much at this point say, okay, you know what? I'm gonna be risking $100 because I'm gonna put my stop well below here at 1077. So that would mean I will have a relatively small position. Notice that for for $10,000 account, this position would only mean 15 shares. So depending on how big your account is, for example, if your account is $100,000, this would be kind of laughable. But if you have a $10,000 account, or if you have a $2,000 account, this is already a significant amount, because at $10,000 you were losing $100. That would count, that would mean 1% of your account, and that's kind of like a good number. I would not put losses probably above 3, maybe 5% per transaction. This is sort of where your risk control comes in. And by the way, I do teach this at Master Charts Trading. But for the purposes of this particular exercise, let's continue what happened here. So the reason why I was not terribly worried at this point when my stock collapsed to 1456, and let me, by the way, show you the actual fill. So here is the screenshot of PTCT from my Robinhood interface, and notice that immediately after I got filled at 1705, literally half an hour later, I'm minus 12 some percent. It bounced a little bit, and of course I'm very concerned at this point. But I'm holding on, because to me, even though this looks like a lot, 12%, in reality, it's not that much relative to my trading account. I can manage even this relative percentage loss per transaction. It's not a big deal, and that is the reason why I selected a certain amount, and I'm comfortable with losing it. So that is why I don't worry as much as some other people about my positions, because I kind of let that money go. I'm gonna say I'm gonna risk a certain amount, let's say $100, $30, $10, whatever your account is, and then that money is kind of no longer with me. But hopefully I'll make some money. So let's see what happened. Here is that screenshot of PTCT down 24% for the day. Of course, here I'm very concerned. You can see order was executed. I blacked out the per share, but you get the picture. So here is PTCT, same day at 12:57, right before the market close. You can see the total return is already actually not bad. So I sat through a relatively wild action here. We had a gap down, my order got filled, we had a relatively big drop here, but I didn't really care that much because I was resigned to this loss. And that was a good thing, because then it went up. So at this point, I'm actually in a very small loss, not a big deal. Next day, actually, the stock went up slightly higher, and here I was in profit. I was plus like 1% right here. I don't know if I have a screenshot, but let me take a look. No, I do not. But here is what happened next day. Notice that this is a screenshot from, again, Robinhood, and you can see that PTCT did not trade at all that day. Now, as you can imagine, I am very concerned even more about this now, because not only my stock gapped down on me, I sat through some pretty wild drawdown here. Finally, I'm close to breaking even here, and now all of a sudden the trading is halted. So here, you can ask my wife. She's like, Alex, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of worried about this outcome of this transaction. And what's the worst that can happen? Okay, the worst that can happen is here the reason why trading was halted is because FDA took an unusual step of halting the trading completely for the entire day pending their approval or disapproval of the drug that this company produces. This is a very misleading headline. You can see that it says PTC Therapeutics gains after FDA panel votes against drug approval. Makes 0 sense. How can you stock gain if you're, you know what I'm saying? It's against approval. So, but actually in reality it says FDA said they needed more testing to prove efficacy. So it is a misleading headline. But this headline came out in the after hours. Notice that in the after hours I was already plus 10%. So this entire day here I was, well, how can I put it, mildly, was very concerned here, because this is a small company with, it's a non-diversified company, so they basically have maybe one, maybe two products, and if the FDA rejects their drug, they could collapse to zero. They could actually file for bankruptcy. Doesn't happen quite often, but you know, it happens. So here my unknown was I could have lost the entirety of my transaction amount. Another possibility was that I could have lost part of the transaction amount. So maybe tomorrow it gaps down to, you know, let's say it was at 17 bucks, maybe tomorrow it gaps down to 5. So at that point I'm like, you know what, forget about this, I'm gonna cut my losses at a very nasty price, but at least I recovered some of my capital. But the truth is I could have lost all of it. So very concerning day here, but actually at the end of the day this was a surprisingly successful transaction, because next day, notice what happened, it gaps up, continues higher. So you can see that right now I can show you the my screenshot again. Notice that today or the Friday was 14 plus 14%, and my actual position was plus 17%. So overall this was a very concerning and nerve-wracking transaction. But what I wanted to say here is this: the important thing about trading, in my opinion, is to be able to control your position. So once you control your position, you become comfortable with the loss. And sometimes those position sizes could mean drastically reducing your trading size. So for example, if you're trading, you know, you're betting $100 for each transaction, and that is like, for example, too much money for you, you don't feel comfortable with that, reduce it, go down to 30 bucks. So this position, if you only risking 30 bucks, would mean 5 shares. It's the process. You need to learn to be able to tolerate relatively nerve-wracking hours of the day without carrying over the stress from stock market basically into your everyday life. So once again, the moral of the story: control your position size. Thanks for watching, and if you have any questions, please send them in. My name is Alex and I'm at MasterChartsTrading.com. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.